So we're here today with Jeff Kinney, who is the author of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series and one of 2009 100 most influential people in the world.
Right.
Really an impressive run that you've had over the last few years, but I guess there was a lot of work that led up to that. So thank you for taking time to come to Northern Virginia and to sit with me for a few minutes.
Of course, thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
So you have a full-time job.
Right.
In addition to all of what you're doing with your book, you have a full-time job as the design director for Family Education Network, which is the company, I guess, that you've worked for a long, long time.
Right.
Before the books were released.
Yeah, I've been there for about 10 years actually, and I started up a website there called Pop Tropica, which is a big virtual world for kids, and it's doing really well. It gets about 10 million kids there a month, and so I feel very passionate about it, and that's why I stay.
Awesome. Now, but you're also serving as like the third string coach to your child's soccer team. Yes.
Right. Yes.
You're parenting two children, young children, 5 and 8.
Yes.
You're churning out book after book, and you're writing 4 hours a night.
That's about right. Yeah.
Do you have a secret? Like, have you figured out a way to clone yourself? Because that's a lot for one person to be doing.
Well, I wish I could say otherwise, but the truth is that when somebody's succeeding at one thing, they're failing at another. And and for me, it's it's a balancing act. I'm always robbing Peter to pay Paul. I think that's the saying. Mm-hmm. When I'm away on the road and when I'm working on my books, I'm away from my family, and that has a lot of sting. So I'm always trying to figure out the way to try to find some sort of semblance of balance. But it's hard. It's really hard to pull those things off.
To manage all of it. Now, is book 6 already underway?
Yes, in my head it's underway.
Any hints as to what we can expect?
Yeah, I want this next book to be about snow and the holidays. I haven't really done a story about characters being snowbound, and I thought that would be a lot of fun.
That will be a lot of fun. It will resonate well with the folks in the Mid-Atlantic region,
right.
For sure. So can we talk about your success and your sons? Presumably they feel coolness issues like every child does, and like Gregory does in the books. But has your success had any effects on sort of their popularity in both school and in your town?
I think that they get some perks out of it. We live in a very small town, and the books really are no big deal in a way in the community. But I think the kids feel it sometimes, like the books just came out in the Scholastic Book Fairs, and then when all of the kids are carrying around the books that my kids have seen me illustrate. I think that's very cool. And I heard recently that my son, they announced his name in a school play, and he got a lot of applause. And maybe that's because he's popular in school, or maybe it's because his last name is recognizable in the school. But that kind of thing is pretty cool.
Does either of them show any interest in being an illustrator or a cartoonist?
Well, my 5-year-old was just signing his fancy signature today, so I think he's interested in the fame, right?
Yeah.
I don't know about the work.
You don't know about the illustrator.
Right.
Okay, so you have siblings. It's 3 boys and a girl total,
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is Roderick fashioned after one of them?
Right. Well, there's a little bit of each of my relatives in all the characters. There's a little bit of me and Roderick. There's a little bit of my older brother and Roderick. Roderick was my brother had a band like Roderick was a drummer, and it wasn't a bad band like Loaded Diaper, but that's where I got that idea.
That was good. Now I read that in March of 2009 there were 11 million total copies in print. What's the current figure?
I think 42 million.
Holy moly!
Yeah,
wow. Okay, you have a saying, a mantra that you found. I guess it was a pretty important timing, the way the timing of the billboard that you came across. That said, "Well done is better than well said."
Right.
But I think that's an interesting mantra for a writer because we think of our words as our tools.
Right.
So, do you think that there's a difference between being well said and well written? And is well written well done?
That's an interesting question. I thought of it strictly in terms of I knew that if I was writing a book, especially because I knew it was going to take me a very long time, that if I kept telling people that I was writing a book, that would diminish I felt like it would diminish things in some way, and that it would be better to kind of surprise people rather than, I felt like that was a trap to keep talking about what I wanted to do rather than just doing it. And so that's how I took the quote.
Well, speaking of that, you mentioned that when you started journaling as an adult, which you didn't do as a child, when you started journaling as an adult, you did it for the purpose of like motivation and progress monitoring.
Right.
So, but you're no longer journaling. If you were to start journaling today, because you found an extra hour in your day to get it right, what would you journal about?
I think I wouldn't journal because I think that what was happening was I was spending so much time documenting my life that I wasn't living it properly, and especially with little kids, I'd much rather turn the time over to them. So I think that was a good as a vanity project in my 20s, when I was unmarried. But now it wouldn't be appropriate.
But you once said then that you think it would be good for kids to journal. Do you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. I think that for a kid to capture their life and capture a snippet of their life is it's a great thing. It offers you a window back into your childhood.
Right.
How are we doing on time, Scott? How are we doing on time? Okay.
That's okay.
We have 2 more questions.
4 o'clock.
Okay.
2 more questions?
2 more,
Okay.
yeah.
Great. Well, one is there's a movie scheduled. This is actually more of a proposition.
Yeah.
There's a movie, new movie, the sequel, coming out in March of 2011.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that maybe a private screening in the Northern Virginia DC market would be amazing, with like a charity event that basically was a workshop on cartooning or illustrating. So put that in your
I'll put it in my
because I
mind.
think that would be, you could pick the charities that you wanted to do. I know it would be very well attended.
Right.
And so since we're having this DC Nova conversation, can you tell us why you're here? I know your brother's music shop is here, but so can you tell viewers why you decided to come to Percival without other Mid-Atlantic stops all
Sure.
over the place?
My brother has a shop that he opened here in Percival called Shamrock Music Shop. He's following his dreams and his bliss, and I wanted to come out here to show my support for him.
And that shop is in a new area of Percival that's being kind of revitalized, right? Called Old Town?
Yeah, it's actually it's an old area that's being revitalized.
Well, right, it's true. I love talking to wordsmiths because they correct inadequate uses of words. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for coming to our little neck of the woods, and thank you so much for your time today. It's really appreciated.
Thank you. And thanks for researching this like you did. I appreciate it.
Well, you